to talk to you about our Spectrum lesson this Sunday, which is on Remembrance Sunday. We're continuing our series of lessons learning about how God loves us and how we can show our love for God. And the story that we're looking at this morning is Elijah confronting the prophets of Baal. It's a kind of odd story for Remembrance Sunday, but I think there's a way that we could connect the two themes together. So we heard before about how after Solomon died, the kingdom of Israel split in two. And from that point on, things really started to go downhill for the Israelites. Both the northern kingdom Israel and the southern kingdom Judah went through a bunch of kings. They struggled against each other, they struggled against outside invasions and attacks, and things were just not going well at all. And in the Bible we read that one of the big reasons things didn't go well for them is because the people weren't loyal to God, they weren't faithful to God. And somebody who's often held up as an example of this faithlessness is Ahab, the king of the north, and his wife Jezebel. Ahab and Jezebel promoted the worship of a god named Baal and built temples to Baal and sponsored priests and prophets of Baal throughout Israel. And this did not please their God. This didn't please the God of Israel. And so he sent Elijah, one of his prophets, to confront Ahab. And in this confrontation, Elijah ended up having a big, competition with the prophets of Baal on top of one of the holy mountains. And they each built a fire, a ritual fire with an offering on the top. Elijah built his, the priests of Baal built theirs, and they both prayed to their gods, respectively, to see who would send down fire to light the burnt offering as a sacrifice. And to make this competition even more dramatic and to make more of a point about the power of his God, Elijah covered the altar that he was using in water to try and dampen it, to make it seem almost impossible for anyone to light this fire, impossible for anyone but God. In the end, Baal's fire was never lit, but Elijah's was, proving that God could come through in even the most difficult and seemingly impossible situations. This is a great story because it's for the kids. It's very dramatic. There's lots of action, and we have a 10-minute video to watch, which will present, moving pictures of the story and explain a little bit of the background for the kids as well. That I think is really good. One thing that I like about the story when we think about remembrance is thinking about war and peace. And sometimes we can think of war as almost inevitable. We can sometimes take for granted that there will always be conflict, we'll always need soldiers, we'll always need weapons. And as a church, we need to think carefully about this message and how we respond as Christians who worship the Prince of Peace, a God of peace, who's bringing in a new kingdom, a new heaven, and a new earth, where it's not the rich and the mighty and the powerful who are in charge, but the weak and the powerless. It's a kingdom in which we proclaim, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And so as Christians, we can show our love for God by promoting peace, by praying for peace, and for doing things in our world that work to make peace a reality, to remind people that war is not inevitable, that war is not the only way to do things and to solve problems. So we're going to have a few remembrance-themed things this morning. I'll have a couple white poppies for you to show the kids, and we can talk about how some people wear white poppies instead of red poppies to promote peace, that we don't just remember soldiers who've died in war, but we also remember that we need to do something to make sure that war comes to an end, that there are no more wars. We can talk to people in government, we can pray, we can actively work in our neighborhoods to promote things that work for peace. There's a lot we can do. So you can have a chat with the kids about that and see what they think. And another fun thing we're going to do is make these bracelets with red and white threads for the red and white poppies of remembrance. They look really cool, and they're actually pretty simple to make. What you do is you get a length of red wool and a length of white wool, and you tie one end together, comme ça, and you'll need to put the kids in pairs to do this, and have one kid hold the end of her thread, and then their friend hold the other end. And you'll need about 2 or 3 feet, maybe just under a meter, for a bracelet. And what you do is have the first person stand and hold their knotted end still and not move it, and have the other kid take their end and twist it up. And so you're going to be winding it up just like this. And so you're making it all twisted up. Da, 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 da. Once it's twisted, be sure to hold it tightly. And then you want to fold it in half like this and hold the two ends together. And you can see as I folded it in half, the bracelet just made itself into a braid like this. And it will stay like that. And what you do is you take the end that you're holding and you bring up the other end and you tie them together to make a bracelet. That's it. It's really simple. Once you tie the two ends together and cut off the end bits of the knot, you can fray them if you want to make it fancy, or just leave them as they are. But that is the craft for the day. And once you make the remembrance bracelets, if you've still got some time left, there are a few games in the lesson notes that I'm sending along just for fun to help the kids run around and blow off some steam before they're collected by their parents. I hope that this lesson goes really well. It's an interesting story. It's an interesting day to remember with the kids and to think about how we as Christians can work for peace and how that can be a way we show our love for God. Thanks very much.